Meg Griffin was happy. She had the most wonderful dream that the world was peaceful and her family loved her. The dream was untrue, however. Everybody hated her in reality. Her mother, Lois, forgot to make her breakfast, and when Meg complained, Lois told her to go walk to school. Her father, Peter, came in, asked what was going on. Lois told him that Meg criticized her work. Instead of acting like a good, wholesome, and reasonable father, Peter got angry and hit a wall, telling Meg to get out. Meg screamed and she cried and she ran out to school. At school, Meg had no supplies she needed for classwork, as Peter forced her out before she could get any. She got in trouble in her first 2 periods before going to lunch. Entirely understandable, the poor damsel. She sat at the table alone as usual, and some popular kids teased her for being forgetful, and hoped they won't forget Meg is a loser and start hanging out with her. Meg began crying, and while doing so, somebody pushed her head into her mashed potatoes, breaking her glasses, and everybody in the cafeteria laughed at her. Her clothes were dirty, so she received four lunch detentions in her next classes. As the bell rang for the end of the school, Meg tried to erase her horrible day. However, on the way home, many people teased her and nicknamed her Potato-Faced Loser. Meg cried bitterly. She ran home, and when she opened the door, nobody bothered to say hello or anything for that matter, not even something negative. Meg ran to her room. Meg often cuts herself, it's no big deal. Everybody knew she did, even the baby, Stewie. But this time Meg was going to extreme measures and was crying while doing so. She accidentally slit her wrist too deep and she screamed so loud that her perverted neighbor, Glenn Quagmire, heard. However, even though all the family was there, they didn't care. "I hope she died," Stewie remarked. "Wait, that feels good," Meg said. "Yes, I love this." So Meg continued to brutally cut her pale skin. She finally cut off an entire finger, and instead of screaming, she laughed very maniacally. She cut off all her fingers and covered the blood with her pillows and sheets. Her bedroom looked like the murder scene. It was so goddamn bloody. Meg spotted her flute, which she didn't play very often because everybody complained that it made their ears bleed. But she grabbed that flute. There was a blackout for about 10 seconds, and on the screen Meg had a realistic-looking knife in her hand. Then another blackout occurred for 20 more seconds. Meg had her flute in her mouth now, which also looked strangely realistic, and then there was a 30-second blackout. Meg stabbed herself in her stomach, squirting out realistic blood. Meg's intestines were coming out. Blood, gore, terrible scene. Meg was in so much pain that she blew the highest, the most off-key note on her flute. And then there was a minute of blackout before there was Meg lying in a dim forest bleeding. Children were screaming in the background. A hound was barking. Investigators found Meg's body in the forest and brought it to the Griffins' house to ask what they request to do with the body. Peter insists they bury it in the backyard as they don't have enough money to get it buried, which was a lie. There was a minute or two of blackout before we see the Griffins at the dinner table eating realistic hands and legs, and Chris Griffin, Meg's old brother, putting salt on Meg's arm. They burp. They leave the dinner table. And it is all a bloody mess. The end.